All right. So now I guess I'll tell you a bit about me and the foundation. So, how did this all start? It started with me 11 years ago. I lost vision in my right eye, followed by feeling in the left side of my body. And I'm making it a very short story. But I was diagnosed within a few weeks of my symptoms with neuromyelitis optica, which at the time was not known as neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder. It was just NMO. And I'm seronegative, which means I do not test positive for the antibody called aquaporin 4 to this day. But anyway, I was 25 years old. My entire world was turned upside down, inside out. I didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize the world anymore, literally, because I could not see. And all of my dreams and aspirations just shattered overnight. I had aspirations to be an actress in Bollywood. I had been working towards that my entire life. And overnight, I had to part ways with all of that. But furthermore, I was diagnosed with a disease which at the time was essentially a death sentence. Everything that I saw on the internet said that I was going to die within 5 years. We had no available therapies that were approved for NMOSD. They were all off label experimental therapies, and the prognosis just was not great. So I thought to myself, there's no way that this happened to me and that this is the end and this is how I'm going to go out. I was like, okay, if I've got 5 years, I have to do something about this. So I took to my blog at the time. I used to maintain a lifestyle blog, and I wrote about what had happened to me. And overnight, my blog got about 20,000 hits, which in 2014 was a lot of hits. And in 2025, that would be a lot of views for me too. So, what that told me was that there was an interest in learning about not just my story, but there was a space to create awareness about NMOSD. It was also the same time as the Ice Bucket Challenge, which had the wheels sort of turning for me. And then somebody sent me this quote that really resonated. There was a flower in her heart. It just needed more room to bloom. And when she let it free, she showed the world that sometimes the most beautiful things can grow in the darkest of places without the need of light. And so I decided to get to work. Within 2 months of my diagnosis, I launched the Sumaira Foundation. At the time, I said, I just want to educate anyone and everyone about NMO. And if I can help one patient in the process, then I would be happy. So let me tell you who we are now. It's been 11 years, and we are dedicated to raising awareness of rare neuroinflammatory disorders, neuroimmune disorders, including NMOSD and MOGAD. We're very passionate about building communities of support for patients and their caregivers, so days like today are very important. We support research, and we advocate on behalf of patients. We have 4 pillars, like I just said. So, awareness, community, research, and advocacy. We are patient led, patient powered, science driven, evidence based, and therapy agnostic. We also love colors, if it wasn't obvious. Our icon is a pink Gerbera daisy, which symbolizes admiration, adoration, and high esteem. Our mascot is a unicorn, and that is actually to pay homage to a 6-year-old NMO patient who lost her battle to NMO back in 2019. She loved unicorns so much, so we wanted to honor her and all of the patients struggling with demyelinating conditions out there by having our mascot be a unicorn. And our official colors are pink, orange, and marigold. We believe still that diversity is a superpower, and that is well reflected in our International Medical Advisory Board, our Global Ambassador Program, our multi-language content and programming, and our local country organizations. We have entities here, of course, in the United States, in Canada, Italy, France, Germany, and we are expanding into the UK and the Middle East. But that doesn't mean that that's where our work is limited to. We actually work all across the world, across all borders, in 26 languages, and in 33 countries officially as of now. Our website is available in all of these languages because, as we all know, that sometimes, even if English is your first language, the jargon that's associated with these diseases can be so difficult, especially if you're not a science person. I am not a science person. So imagine if English is not your first language, how difficult that is. These are just some of the highlights of the foundation over the last 11 years. We've shared 180 stories from patients, caregivers, and clinicians from all over the world. We've produced 140 plus webinars in 16 languages. We developed the first ever interactive therapies chart for NMOSD. We now have 109 ambassadors in 30 plus countries. These are patients, caregivers, and clinicians. We've organized 16 patient days in 5 countries in the last 3 years. I should say that this is actually our final US patient day of the year, and it's sweet number 17 for us. We also have support group meetings in 10 different countries. We have funded $1 million in research grants, fellowships, and journal publication fees. We've graduated 7 fellows from our diagnostic fellowship, and we're a recipient of 2 PCORI funding awards. We've also secured state proclamations to make March NMO Awareness Month and April MOGAD Awareness Month in 40 states. And we co-developed the first ever diagnostic and treatment guidelines for NMOSD and MOGAD in Latin America. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. So even though the foundation bears my name, it isn't just me anymore. It takes a village. So we have some of our team members here, but these are just some of the folks who are on our core team. We have board members and strategic advisors from all over the world. This is our medical advisory board. We have representation in many different countries. And I forget what sports reference you make, Michael, but you say that this is like the FIFA World Cup Dream Team in neuroimmunology. These are all of our industry partners who we work with. Without their support, we would not be able to do the work that we do. These are all of the community partners that we work with across the world. These are patient advocacy organizations in various disease states. And now a little bit about our ambassador program. So I love to show this chart because it's very important to note when I got sick 11 years ago and entered the world of advocacy, I did not have any experience in rare disease or disease in general, advocacy, charities, nonprofits, nothing. So I came in with a very fresh, I guess, objective perspective of the landscape of patient advocacy. And what startled me was that the ecosystem was not like this, where patients are always at the center and at the forefront, and all the other stakeholders around them should be working together to ultimately uplift the patient. It should be like this, in my opinion. So my mission in life is to really make this happen. And this is what we try to do at TSF. We work with all these different stakeholders, doctors, clinicians, researchers, caregivers, advocacy organizations, policymakers, pharmacies, therapy makers, and we're all working together to ultimately help patients achieve a better quality of life, achieve better health outcomes, and live not defined by their diseases or diagnoses. So that being said, part of that vision was to create an ambassador program to bring other patients and caregivers and clinicians into the movement that we were trying to build. And so we launched this in 2019 with 10 ambassadors from the United States only. And now our program has grown to over 109 ambassadors from 32 countries who speak 28 languages, 20 of whom are neuroimmunologists. So this program is growing on a week-to-week basis. We have applications coming in all the time. And what that tells me is that people are now able, ready, and willing to get to work, putting their disease aside to help others. And I love to see that. That is actually what saved my life. I was just telling Layla and Randy outside that when I got sick, I was so miserable. I was very, very sick for 4 years straight. It was a very difficult journey for me. Sometimes I can't even believe that I am how I am today. I didn't mention, but I've been in remission for 7 years, which is miraculous. Thank you. Thank you. But it wasn't always like this. It was, I suffered 9 relapses in my first 4 years. I cycled through 13 different biologics. It was a very, very tough road. But I'm so grateful that I psychotically decided to start a foundation within 2 months of my diagnosis, because if it weren't for the organization, I don't know what would have became of my life. It's what kept me going and kept me motivated, because it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about all the other patients out there who felt that same loneliness and isolation that I felt. So now we have this amazing team. These are all of our Canadian and US ambassadors, our European ambassadors, our Latin American ambassadors, our African ambassadors, and our ambassadors from Asia. Now, what do? How do we raise awareness? We do a lot of patient and clinician education. So we've got all these webinars, podcasts, case discussions, lecture series, infographics, guides. We have this amazing brochure that was like a passion project of mine that we just launched earlier this year to present NMOSD and MOGAD in a way that's not scary and that's digestible and that's kind of enjoyable to read. We do have these brochures out if you want to grab one. We recently launched a shared decision-making resource guide on how to apply shared decision-making with you and your doctor so that you can achieve better health outcomes. We also have a brain health masterclass to help you get smart on your disease, because we believe that patient education is a form of intervention to, again, help achieve better health outcomes. If you're well informed about your disease and you can speak about it with confidence and talk to your doctor about all the different aspects of disease, this actually will probably help your overall state. I think I am missing a slide, but that's okay. How do we illuminate the darkness? We share all these patient stories. We made a few documentaries. This is a thumbnail from our French documentary that actually became a finalist at the World Health Organization Film Festival in 2023. We were selected out of 800 submissions from around the world. And while we didn't win, Sharon Stone watched our movie. So she knows about NMO now, which I think is a win. I was also in a documentary on PBS a few years ago alongside Dr. Sean Pittick. These are all of our support group meetings. We do a lot of wellness-focused initiatives. These are all the patient days we've done. Seattle is right there. Here are some pictures. So we do group photos at all of our patient days. We will be doing it here, I believe, outside. So we got to make it better than all the other ones. This is from Copenhagen. We did a patient day there as part of ECTRIMS. We did a patient day in Beijing, China. So cool, amazing. These are all of our US patient days from this year. So yeah, we got to do a really amazing picture today. We have a symptom tracking app called Neurosciences. Here are our plushies. So anytime we hear about a child or anyone under the age of 18 getting any of these conditions, we send them a care package free of charge, stickers, bracelets, unicorns, the whole thing to sort of uplift their spirits. So if you, and to the doctors, if any of you have pediatric patients who would benefit from this, let us know. Of course, we do patient advocacy. So we have a patient advocacy council. This helps to identify the gaps and the needs in terms of the diagnostic journey, treatment access, affordability. We recently launched a guide for NMOSD patients and caregivers on how to navigate insurance. This has a glossary of all the difficult terminology that insurance will throw at you, what to do if you're treatment gets denied, how to appeal things. We have templates in there. And while this was designed for NMOSD, it's actually applicable to any disease. So definitely take a look. I hope that it's helpful to everyone in this room. Actually, I hope that none of us have issues with insurance, but that's a tall order. We also have a coalition for health equity. So similar to patient advocacy, I have a very soft spot for those who are underserved, minorities. I always like to try to root for the underdog and use our voice to help them. So similarly, this is to identify unmet needs, challenges for those, in rural communities, lower middle income areas and whatnot. March is NMO Awareness Month. April is MOGAD Awareness Month. And in celebration, we have illuminations around the world. So this was in Shanghai, China. And here are some illuminations from Niagara Falls, a stadium in Italy, the Zakim Bridge in Boston, the Empire State Building, Michelangelo in Florence, and the CN Tower in Toronto. We've had like hundreds of these. I love pink, so nothing makes me happier than seeing this. These are just some more advocacy photos. That's our Belgian ambassador at the European Parliament representing TSF. This is a bunch of us on the steps of Capitol Hill during Rare Disease Week on Capitol Hill. We work with these 4 organizations for copay assistance. So PAN Foundation, the Assistance Fund, Good Days, and Nord. Check them out. The information's on our website. They even help with like Uber rides to and from treatment. So they have a number of different services that you could benefit from. Research. So we have 2 research grants, one for adult and one pediatric. We actually named our pediatric research grant after the little girl who passed away. So it is called the Joanni's Unicorn Grant. And since 2018, we have funded 32 research projects in the amount of $830,000. These are our 7 fellows. So it's a diagnostic fellowship to help them learn how to do live cell-based assay testing, so live CBA testing. This is the gold standard for diagnostics. So we've graduated someone from Iran, Zambia, 2 folks from Sri Lanka, Brazil, Egypt, and Belgium. And in 2026, we will be supporting 10 more fellows from around the world who are going to be doing fellowships at the University of Oxford in the UK and the University of Verona in Italy. We also sponsored the ECTRIMS Meet-In Fellowship. So this is a 2-year fellowship fully focused on NMOSD and MOGAD at the University of Oxford. We also sponsored journal publications for doctors from lower middle income countries who are doing great work, but they just can't afford to pay the $3,000 that it costs to publish something in an open access journal. That is ridiculous. So we decided to do this because there are researchers all over the world doing incredible work and no one can see their work. So this is something we're also very passionate about. We also do research summaries. So there's so much wonderful research coming out, but if you're like me and you don't understand science, it's just a bunch of gibberish. So we have someone on our team who translates all of these articles into plain language summaries, creates these infographics so that it's easy to understand. Last year, we were the recipient of a $250,000 funding award from the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute to develop a research agenda for rare neuroimmune disorders. We were so excited about that, still am. It's a huge deal for a small organization like ours. But that was followed by, in April 2025, the foundation received a $9 million funding award from the same institution to do a 5-year, thank you, a 5-year comparative effectiveness trial to compare the 4 approved therapies of NMOSD to rituximab, which is the off-label kind of therapy that a lot of patients are on. So we're going to begin recruiting patients starting in January worldwide. We have 10 sites around the world confirmed so far. And there's going to be a lot that we learn along the way, but this is going to be very, very telling, I guess. And we're going to learn a lot. So we're very, very excited. It's a huge deal for the foundation. We have never received an award of this size. It's a lot. I'm still processing it. But it's also such a big deal for the NMO community because, of course, it's great that we have all these therapies. That's miraculous as well. But now we can see how effective are these therapies. We're going to put them together, not head to head, and against rituximab, because the idea is that assuming these new therapies are as effective as we have seen them to be thus far, we believe that NMO patients who are aquaporin 4 should be on these drugs that were designed for them. So we're going to learn a lot as we go. These are just some of our research initiatives. I'm not going to bore you. And this is my favorite picture of Michael Devlin from Beijing last year, where we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. On that note, I would like to also wish, so Michael's birthday was last weekend. Happy birthday, Michael. And then Vanessa, who is our ambassador from Idaho, had her birthday 2 days ago. So happy birthday to you. And this is how to get in touch with us. Thank you so much for your time. This is, I'm not going to be talking the rest of the day, which is really exciting for me. Usually at these things, I'm yapping all day. Today, I get to listen, learn, observe. But just thank you so much for being here, for trusting us. And I hope that you all leave today feeling very empowered, informed, connected, supported, loved. We have done everything we can. And of course, there are areas to improve to create a psychologically safe environment and platform for all of us, no matter if you're a doctor or a patient or a caregiver, to share, to cry, to learn, to whatever. So please lean into today. In my experience as a patient, these days are totally transformative. So thank you again.